Hello and welcome to the second of my Miss Marvel reviews. Today I'm going to be looking at the final 3 episodes of the Disney Plus Marvel series. But before we get into it, I'd just like to remind you, if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate it if you supported the channel by hitting subscribe, turning on notifications, liking and commenting your thoughts on the series, and you can find and follow me on Twitter here. Also, you can find a link to the first video where I covered episodes 1 to 3, along with some links to some of my other videos which may interest you. As a quick recap, I was really enjoying the first 3 episodes of this series, and I liked the very down-to-earth nature of it, and the interesting exploration of Pakistani culture, which I'm only mildly familiar with, so it was great to see it get more representation and give me a better understanding. Kamala, along with the rest of the cast, were really enjoyable. For me, the weakest part was probably the inclusion of the clandestines and the whole end of the world potential plot, but that was really very much a side plot, and thankfully the more down-to-earth elements were the main focus. And that is sadly why I didn't enjoy the second half of the season as much, as the main bulk of the cast and the setting were kind of dropped for most of episodes 4 and 5, as Kamala and her mother end up going to Karachi, which serves to expand on some of the more finer details of Kamala learning about her superpowers, learning about the backstory of her long-lost great-grandmother, as well as meeting the Red Daggers, who break down the plot of the clandestines and what they want to do. And while I wouldn't say necessarily that these episodes are bad, I enjoy a lot of the elements in it. Part of me feels like episodes 4 and 5, all of that stuff really should have been saved for season 2, and the focus of this first season was mostly carrying on with the plots that we'd set up in the previous 3 episodes, and also probably either remove or scale down the clandestines in season 1 and have them be the main focus in season 2. From what I understand, Miss Marvel is very much on the same level as Spider-Man in terms of a very down-to-earth type superhero who deals with more neighborly and local issues rather than major end-of-the-world type concepts. The highlight of the episodes was definitely the relationship between Kamala, her mother and grandmother, and the different dynamics between those 3. As we explore the backstory of Aisha during partition, that works as a really good short film about partition in India, but it does take away a lot of time from the main plot, and the ending of episode 5 feels really rushed, especially the fact that it basically wrapped up the whole end of the world arc and got rid of the clandestines. It would have worked better if we spent more time with them and see them start off as relatively likable people, but slowly grow more impatient and more aggressive, as is they just went from down-to-earth, very relaxed sort of characters to one-dimensional villains really quickly. And I think either the series needed to have more episodes or longer episodes, or needed to be split into 2 separate seasons, as it's definitely really rushed. Now, episode 6, on the other hand, basically covers all the stuff that I was kind of missing in episode 4 and 5, and was a really great ending to the series. A detail I like of the finale is how Kamala goes out of her way to make sure that Kamran doesn't do anything villainous and make sure that he doesn't kill anyone, and trying to basically prevent him from becoming an antagonist. It also kind of sets up a potential means of having my idea of having episode 4 and 5 being season 2, with Kamran going off to join the Red Daggers. I think maybe that was the good way to foreshadow and set it up, and then episodes 4 and 5 would be saved for season 2, as I've said before. It still kind of works overall, though it does mean that the series takes a pretty big detour in the middle, and realistically, the clandestines have very little to do with the overarching series. The episode allowed all of the major characters an opportunity to take part in the climax, and I like how it was a lot more inventive and unique to this series style rather than generic action sequences we've seen in like the end of WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It was very much more in keeping and showed off the skills of characters like Bruno and Zoe, who hasn't really been present. I kind of expected that character to have a bit more to do. Going from the trailers, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of stuff that was cut for time for certain characters, because I know I definitely seen stuff with Zoe that wasn't included, which would have given her more of an arc, as is she just kind of shows up, which is admittedly funny, but is a bit weird in terms of actually presenting the story. Overall, I definitely say I really enjoyed Ms. Marvel, though I do think trying to do too much was its downfall, especially in the second half. I like a lot of the things that the second half did, but I think I would have preferred it a lot more if it was given its own separate season in order to be fleshed out and give a lot of its really cool ideas much more room to breathe.